The king in the book of Esther just happens to be sitting and reading the Chronicles one night and hasn't even thought about Mordecai for a couple, maybe 3 or 4 years. He hasn't even thought about Mordecai. Mordecai saved his life, and nothing happened good for Mordecai for saving the king's life. But at the very moment that someone was planning to kill Mordecai, the king is in his chamber reading the Chronicles, and he reads, hey, this guy saved my life. What can I do for him? Let's put him on a, let's think of something that we can do great for this man. He saved my life and we never did anything for him. This is the exact timing that Mordecai needs the king to save his life. So God had the king reading the Chronicles when somebody's planning his murder. The guy that's planning his murder comes in to tell the king, I'm planning on murdering Mordecai, and he says, before you talk, let me tell you something. How do we honor this guy named Mordecai? Yeah, what would you do for him? Well, I'd put him on the king's horse, put a robe on him that only the king has wore, and give him a gold signet ring, and parade him through the city and give him... Really? That's what you would do? Okay, good. Do this for Mordecai. Yeah, but when he saved the king, nothing happened. You understand? So that means God is a God of timing, but God is not a God who forgets. So I can pray about something and I can say, you know what? I know whatever situation I'm in, God has not forgotten me. If you're outside, let me tell you something. Kid comes over, across the street. I never met the kid before. Can you buy us ice cream? No, where your parents at? I'm like, I don't even know y'all kids. Where y'all from? Where y'all come from? We live down the street over there. Can you buy us ice cream? I didn't have no money, but I'm like, no, go tell you. Is your mama home? Yeah, she home. Does she have money? Yeah, I think so. Well, ask her to buy you some ice cream. I don't even know you. Okay, but my kids, Dad, can we have some ice cream? Sure, come on out here, let me see. I think I got some extra change, you know. What does that tell us? That's natural. Okay, what does that tell you? That the God of heaven is concerned with who?
His kids.
His own kids. You can't be unassociated to God and run into him and asking him for stuff. First you have to come in association, and that's what being born again is all about. Come in association. Be his child, then he's concerned about the things that you're going through. So some people say, oh, God only hears the sinner's prayer from the sinner. And in many ways, he does. He's like, I'm concerned, first of all, that you're coming into a relationship. We have to understand from studying Hebrew, okay, that whoever wrote this Bible is completely in control of everything. Of everything. When I showed a Jewish guy at my job the other night that God planned Hitler, that Hitler was already in the Bible, and that God knew that Hitler would die, and not only him, but his 10 henchmen would also die. And I showed it to him. He was like, why don't everybody know this? Nobody want to know. But because if you know that God already knew about this thing, you would have to admit to yourself, there's only one God, there's not many religions, there's only one creator, you understand? And then your faith would have to be concentrated on the one God and being obedient to that, okay? So, in the whole course of this class, let's talk about some of the things that we learned that confirms to us that God is 100% real. What are some of the other things? What about David? What you spoke on?
David and Goliath.
David and Goliath, okay. you spoke on that. And Revelation 19:10 says that the word of Jesus is prophecy. Jesus is the word of God. Everything comes out of his mouth is talking about something else. That's going to come true. Basically, that's what it's saying. Jesus is the word, and the spirit of the word is prophecy. Okay? He's the word, he wrote the book, and everything he wrote is talking about something else. Okay? So if I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you and I have a spirit of prophecy, I may be talking to you about something, and then you got to figure out what's about to happen. You know what I mean?
Unless it's confirmation.
Unless it's confirmation, yeah. But you have to look at that what God is writing, because he confirms everything in the New Testament. Oh yeah, when I did that whole thing about the lamb and killing them and putting 3 blood spots on the door of the home of everybody and delivering the kids out of on the 14th of Nisan, that whole lamb thing had to do with something that's going to happen 2,000 years later. I just wrote that so you'll understand when he comes what he's doing. I'm just confirming it because I'm going to tell the end in the beginning. You see what God is saying? Everything that I'm going to do, I'm going to tell it to you in the beginning. So when it happens in the end, you'll see what's going on. Now, let's read this study today. And let's look at
30 minutes.
Okay, we can do this in 30 minutes. I think it's in 29, Genesis chapter 29. I remember speaking not only to the church, but to a guy who had wrote a book, Matson. And I said, you know, God's not going to work on his Sabbath, because he's already showed in Scripture that once he finishes his work week, it is an abomination for anybody to work on their own Sabbath day. Okay? So you see people in the Scriptures working on the Sabbath, and Moses says, Lord, I caught somebody working on the Sabbath. What do you want me to do? And God says, take him outside the camp and stone him to death. And I'm like, oh, just for breaking the Sabbath? That means God would never break his Sabbath. Then this guy named Jesus is born. And if you're a man and you're watching Jesus, you go, isn't it the Sabbath? What are you doing? And why did you tell this guy to pick up his bed and walk? Because carrying that bed is like work. He's got to carry that bed. You telling him to do this on the Sabbath? And you're eating corn and you're picking corn on the Sabbath? And you and your apostles just sitting here eating, and it's the Sabbath? And Jesus says,
not my Father's Sabbath.
The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Okay? So he's like, I made that day for you, not to control you, but I made that day for man and not to make man for the Sabbath. And then he says, anyway, whatever you see in me doing, it doesn't matter because my Father's working and I'm working too. Which means it ain't my Sabbath anyway. And you looking at him going, you're a man, it is your Sabbath. Come on, you know I'm God. I don't get a Sabbath till the 6,000 years are up. I got to finish my work week. I got to finish the 6,000 years before I take a break. Okay. So, how is God going to tell you this before the Sabbath comes? Because he's got to tell you the future before the beginning if God is going to work on his Sabbaths. Okay? So this is what God chooses. Okay? Genesis chapter 29. After Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, meaning Jacob moved in with his relative Laban, Laban said to him, "Just because you are a relative of mine, should you work for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." And Laban had 2 daughters. Okay? Beautiful. This is so beautiful. Because Laban is now, he has 2 daughters. And these 2 daughters are Leah. The name of the older is Leah. And the name of the younger is Rachel. Okay? And it says, Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was lovely in form and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, "I will work 7 years in return for the younger daughter Rachel." I'm going to read 16 again. Now God had 2 types of people. His older was a Gentile by the name of Leah. And his younger was a Jew by the name of Rachel. The Gentile had weak eyes, but the Jew was lovely in form and beautiful, and God was in love with the Jewish young lady, and said, "I will work 7 years in return for the Jewish one." Okay? So now let's continue. Laban says, "It's better I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but it seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Did a study on this, and that's what Jesus says. He says that the time's going to go by so fast because he's so in love with the bride.
Wow.
Okay. It says, then Jacob said to Laban, okay, because his time was done. So Jesus goes to God and says, okay, give me my wife. My time is complete. I want to lie with her. Okay? He doesn't say my 7 years is complete.
No.
He says my time is complete. Why? Because in their culture, you can't work 7 days.
Right. The 6th.
You can't work 7 years. The 7th year is a Sabbath.
Yeah.
The 7th day is a Sabbath. Okay? They have every 7th, at the end of the 7th is a Sabbath, and everybody's put it down. Like, the whole reason Israel is punished for 490 years is because for 490 years they never gave the land a Sabbath. So 70, that makes 70 years. That means 70 years you owe me because you never gave your land a Sabbath. You understand this?
Right.
So now God is coming to them and he's saying, look, the time that you were supposed to give so Jacob is not going to work the 7th year. The 7th year is a Sabbath, but his 6th day of work is done. He's like, okay, give me my bride. But he's still going to be under servitude to him for the 7th year, but he knows that his work week is over because he don't have to work in the 7th year.
That makes sense.
You understand? He can't work the land in the 7th year. It's against God's law. Okay? Now, his work week is over, and he says, so Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter, the Gentile, and gave her to Jesus, and Jesus lay with her, and the Gentile gave his servant, and Laban gave his Gentile servant, the girl Zippah, the daughter, as a maidservant. So now I'm trying to read it to you because this is the beginning. I'm telling the future. Okay? What am I telling you? That the original, the daughter that Jesus wanted, and the daughter that he marries after his work week is not the one he wanted, but the one that he gets. And does it mean that he doesn't love Leah?
No.
He loved Leah, right?
That's not who he worked for.
Okay, but that's not who he worked for. Okay? Now, okay, it says, when morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, the Jewish, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" Laban replied, "It is not our custom to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one." Okay? Who's the older daughter?
Leah.
Okay. What makes Leah the older daughter?
She's
if
first.
she's a Gentile.
She was first.
She is first. So, is the law first or is faith first?
Faith.
Right, because some people say, well, you know, Christianity came after Judaism. No, faith came before Judaism, then Judaism came, and then God took them through that process, then he reintroduced the world back to the original, which is faith, okay? Abraham was justified by faith, okay? He's the father of faith. Even though he's the father of the Jewish people, he's the father of faith.
You had to have faith.
So the first daughter is representing the Gentiles, which means what? Faith. Okay? Okay? So now it says, Laban replied, "It is not our custom to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. So marry this daughter first, who has lived by faith, and I will give you the second daughter after an additional week of service." So now work for me for 7 more years, and I'll give you the other daughter, the Jewish bride, too. So now, here is God saying to the world, I'm going to work a full week. I'm going to work a full week, but I'm not going to get the bride that I truly want. But I'll take her. I'll take Leah. We'll have children. And so he's had Leah. We're producing children, okay? And so now Leah, he has Leah. But now, once the church leaves the earth, okay, the marriage takes place. We arrive in heaven. Jesus comes out and goes, "Rachel!" And he goes, "No, it's Leah." "The Gentile bride?" "Yes." "Okay, I love her. What do I need to do to get the Jewish bride?" Work 7 more years.
Yeah.
But grace is over. The tribulation's begun. I'm gonna have to save her out of tribulation to get my second bride. So God is telling us what? The end from the beginning by using this story. You understand? So the world is all about 2 brides. A Gentile by faith, a Jew that tries to come in by works, but you can't come in by works. Okay? The whole process. Look, let's go back to looking at, because we're talking about speaking things before they happen. Poor Moses. Moses worked overtime for those people.
Yeah.
Overtime, okay? I'm going to tell you something. It was never God's intent that Moses would bring the people into the promised land. Why? Why? He knew, but why can't Moses bring the people in?